In the last year, I have completely transformed my body. I've lost over 25 pounds, and most importantly, I was able to do it in a very sustainable way. There were no quick fixes, no extreme diets, no shortcuts, just hard work and consistency. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you my entire weight loss journey from beginning to where I am now. This might be a longer video, but I have the chapters down below so you can skip ahead to what pertains to you. And before I get into the video, I just want to share a disclaimer that this is not about the weight. It's about feeling confident and happy in your own body, moving through the world, and also living a long, healthy life. I do have a history of disordered eating, so I completely understand if a video like this is too triggering for you. I recommend skipping this one. You can watch another video on my channel, but I did try my best to keep my language as neutral and positive as possible. And if you like these kinds of videos, definitely make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the little notification bell, and without further ado, let's get into it. So I pretty much always have struggled with my weight and with my body image. So last year when I realized that I had put on a good amount of weight and I was feeling very uncomfortable in my body, it was really challenging for me to get dressed every day. I felt so uncomfortable, insecure. My body was hurting. And so I wanted to do this in a way that was slow and sustainable and very intentional. So here are some mindset shifts I made before I even started. The first mindset shift is that it will take time, and that is okay. I am in it for the long haul. I made a commitment to myself that I was not going to pursue anything with a quick fix, shortcut, anything that promised quick results. I was not going to buy into it because I have tried that before so many times and it does not work for me. I end up seeing the results. I end up going really hard for a short period of time and I see the results, but then I just gain the weight right back because it's not sustainable and it's not intentional and balanced. So I told myself it is okay if this takes a long time. It's okay if it takes years until I'm happy with my body. I am committed to this. Also, the second mindset shift I made is that I would only listen to fitness and nutrition professionals if their advice made me feel expansive rather than restrictive. So once you start going down this rabbit hole and you start consuming content from fitness influencers, nutritionists, you will get bombarded with information. There is so much information out there and it can be so confusing. Like, who do I listen to? What do I do? And I just told myself that I would only listen to the people who had advice that made me feel expansive rather than restrictive. And what I mean by that is, does their advice make me feel good? Does it feel like I could actually sustain this? Does it feel balanced? Or does it feel restrictive? Does it feel extreme? I remember I worked with a personal trainer very briefly at the gym that I was going to, and his advice was very extreme. He was telling me I had to go out to a soccer field and do sprints every single day. And I was like, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. So I stopped working with him and I decided to find a coach that actually preached more balanced advice and made me feel like I could achieve the lifestyle and the body that I wanted without restricting myself so much and without going into such an extreme mentality for it. And like I mentioned, I do have a history of disordered eating and just like an unhealthy relationship with food and with my body. So I was very hesitant about going into this weight loss journey. I was so worried about re-triggering myself or getting too obsessive. And so I was just very mindful throughout this whole entire process of staying in tune with myself and what I was doing and making sure that I wasn't being extreme or obsessive with anything. So with that being said, because I wanted to do this in a sustainable way, I kind of like unintentionally took myself through 3 phases of this entire journey, which is why it took a year. Because again, the goal was sustainability, intentionality, actually creating lifestyle changes, not just changing my body. So the first phase that I entered was just creating small lifestyle changes. And the first lifestyle change I really made was actually investing in an Oura ring just to get some data on my health, get some data on the steps that I was taking, how my sleep was, my stress, just to kind of bring awareness to those areas of my life. And then once I realized that my steps were pretty low, that I wasn't really hitting a super high number with my steps, I slowly decided to increase my step goal. I think I started with like 6,000 and then worked my way up to 7,000, then 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, just slowly over time. And also during this time too, I was making small changes to my diet choosing to eat out a little bit less, choosing to have a little bit more vegetables, more homemade meals. I was going to the gym, but I didn't really have a plan. I was kind of just doing random TikTok workouts just to get comfortable with going to the gym. I think this phase is so important because you are easing into these small lifestyle changes rather than just jumping straight into the deep end, especially if you do live a more sedentary lifestyle. Any change that you make is going to make a difference. You're going to start feeling more energized. You're going to start feeling less inflamed. And even if you don't see results right away, you will still feel better. And I think once you start feeling better, it kind of like creates like a positive relationship with movement and with nutrition where you're like, oh, like I actually do feel better when I go on a walk at the end of the day. It actually helps me sleep better. And that's what was really nice about having the Oura Ring, like actually seeing that data. Like if I take a walk at the end of the day, I sleep better. Like my latency is shorter. Or if I take magnesium before bed, I sleep better as well. My latency is lower. And just slowly starting to make like little shifts, focusing on like what feels better, like what makes you feel good, what gives you energy. You start to notice like, oh, I had Wingstop for dinner and it actually hurt my stomach. It made me feel not very good. And the next day I woke up with a headache. The next day I woke up not feeling the best. Like maybe I don't have to fully restrict myself from this meal because I do enjoy it. Maybe I can just get a healthier option next time. And then slowly just making little changes. It's really all about, in this phase, being 1% better, just making 1% better decisions and slowly easing into a healthier lifestyle. And then I entered phase 2, and this was really when I learned how to show up for myself and really overcome excuses. So while I don't think that challenges like 75 hard or like any sort of like 30-day glow up challenge, I don't think those types of challenges are very sustainable, but I do see the purpose in them because when you commit to something, when you commit to a challenge, you essentially are forced to show up. And what you'll notice is that your mind will reach for excuses, but because you've already committed to a challenge, you have to show up regardless. So when I first moved back to Florida and I really decided, okay, I've started making these changes over the last couple of months. I'm feeling better, but now I'm really committed to like taking my fitness seriously and like actually like going all in. I decided to start 75 hard, and I actually did it like 3 times and I never fully passed it. I never actually completed 75 hard, but it's okay because I learned so much from doing it. The first time I think I made it to like 22 days. Second time it was like 24 days. And then finally the last time I did it, I made it to like 54 days. So again, even though I didn't fully complete 75 hard, I still learned so much in it. Like, especially the last time when I showed up for 54 days straight, and I was vlogging the entire time too. So if you want to go to my TikTok page, you can see all of my 75 hard vlogs when I was showing up every day for 54 days. That was a lot of fun. But it's so interesting what you notice when you commit to a challenge like that. Your mind no longer thinks like, should I work out today? Because you already know, you have already made this prior commitment when you started this challenge. I am committing to working out not just once, but twice a day. So now the question in your mind no longer is, should I work out today? And instead it's, what should I work out today? Like you already have the assumption, I am working out today. I am moving my body today. Now it's just, what should I work out today? And even that question you shouldn't even really be asking because it's really helpful to have a plan in place, beforehand. So then it's just you're moving through the motions. Like you already made the decision, I am working out, I am moving my body, and now I'm just following the plan. And that's really it. And that is what I feel like this second phase, like committing to some type of challenge. And it doesn't have to be 75 hard. 75 hard can definitely be a little bit extreme, but something that holds you accountable to showing up every single day for a certain period of time. I actually talked about this in my 90-day lock-in video where I shared that I'm fully convinced that you can change the trajectory of your life with just 90 days of intentionally focusing on something, like just locking in, no distractions, and really focusing in on something. And for me, I really noticed that when I did 75 hard, that I committed for those 75 days, well, it really was 54 days, to just focus on my fitness, to focus on overcoming any mental blocks that came up. Right now, I'm actually putting myself through another challenge. On TikTok, I decided to post every single day. And again, when you make a commitment like that, that forces you to show up every single day, you will notice how many excuses your mind will bring up, and you learn how to overcome those mindset blocks. So even though I didn't fully complete 75 hard, I still made it to 54 days of 2 workouts a day, drinking a gallon of water, reading 10 pages, following a diet, no alcohol. And I still do a lot of those habits to this day. I still read every day. I still drink a gallon of water every day. I still move my body intentionally every day. Honestly, pretty much I do the 2 workouts a day because I do some type of strength training and then I'll take my dog on a walk. Usually it's 2 walks in the morning and at night. So like I am still kind of following the same things from that program, and I learned that through committing to a challenge. So again, even if you don't want to do something as extreme as 75 hard, I still do recommend sticking to something, like creating some type of challenge for yourself and tracking it. Like, you know, you could get Shelby Sacco's habit tracker. Love it. I feel like I talk about that habit tracker in every single one of my videos. It is so great because you literally can like mark off your habits every single day. I think it's just very helpful to commit yourself to something for a period of time just to prove to yourself and overcome those mental blocks. Okay, now moving on to phase 3. So this is really like the foundation for real change. I feel like phase 1 and phase 2 was all about slowly changing those habits and building that discipline, proving to yourself that you can show up. And I'm not saying that you have to follow all 3 of these phases. I'm just sharing my weight loss journey. This is like what I took myself through in order to create sustainability and actually stick to this long term. I think so many people just try to jump straight into phase 3, which is what I'm going to talk about. And it's really like, you know, being intentional with your diet, being intentional with your movement, doing specific things to actually achieve the weight loss, but you haven't really built the foundation for actually sticking to those habits. So at this point in my journey, this was when I was really ready to see results. I had built the discipline, I had built the habits, I had built the structure in terms of my nutrition as well. And I was ready to start seeing like real results. Like I was feeling better. I was like losing weight, but I wanted to like really see results and dial in. So I actually decided to hire a coach at this time period. So let's talk about the foundations for real change, for actually creating weight loss. And this isn't really weight loss specific. It's more so fat loss, because that's really what I did. Like I wasn't trying to just lose 25 pounds and have it be like fat and muscle. I wanted it to intentionally be fat and keep my muscle. And that's what I was able to do. It's essentially called body recomposition. And by the way, I'm not a nutritionist or personal trainer. These are just things that I've learned through working with my coach and also my personal experience. So there are 3 pillars that make up the foundations for creating real change and actually seeing fat loss. And the first is your diet, which is the most important. If you want to see weight loss, you need to be eating in a calorie deficit. And that's something that you can figure out using a calorie calculator online, or you could even go into ChatGPT and tell Chat like your height, your weight, everything that you need to tell it to basically figure out what your estimated calories should be for the day. And you should also be tracking your food as well. This is when I really saw the biggest difference in my body and also my relationship with food, is when I started intentionally tracking my food. So once I started working with my coach, I started tracking my macros. And I don't think that tracking is something that you need to do forever. Like I no longer track my food, but I think going through a period of time where you are tracking your food, it creates so much awareness around the food that you're consuming, because you do not realize what they put in food until you actually start tracking it. And you really start to see how calories can add up very easily. Like for example, 1 tablespoon of olive oil has 120 calories. Whereas if you just get one of those like olive oil sprays, you can essentially just have like 0 to 5 calories instead. So making like small swaps like that is really what you learn when you track your macros, is just making small little changes here and there. For example, this morning, my breakfast was kind of leaning on the higher side in terms of fat. So I chose, instead of having toast with butter, that I would have toast with jelly instead, because butter would add more fat to my breakfast. So it's just making little swaps here and there depending on what your calorie goals are. Also, protein is everything. Eating a protein-rich diet, focusing on protein, that is honestly where I noticed the biggest difference once I started tracking my macros, because my coach had me eating, I think like 150 to 160 grams of protein And like that felt like so much because when I first started tracking, like before I was actually like hitting a goal, I was not eating that much protein. I was like probably having like less than 100 grams of protein a day. And protein is what keeps you satiated. It also is what helps you build and maintain your muscle. So you want to make sure that you have a high protein diet, especially when you're on a weight loss journey. Like that's what's going to help you to actually keep your muscle. And honestly, even though I was on a calorie deficit, I really did not even notice it very much. I know like a lot of people say like you need to get used to being hungry, but personally for me, I did not feel very hungry during my deficit because I was eating a lot of protein and also high volume. So that's something that my coach taught me was volume eating. So really like filling up your plate with a lot of low calorie food. So like vegetables or fruit. And that really, really helped me because it is such a difference the way it sits in your stomach. If you eat a wrap, for example, let's say that has just turkey, cheese, and mustard, like that's gonna, even if it has a good amount of protein, like it's not going to satiate you as much because it's pretty small. Like it'll probably be like this small of a wrap. Whereas if you stuff that wrap with lettuce, and now this wrap is like this big and like it sits in your stomach like that. So now you're just satiated for a lot longer. Same with if you have just like chicken and rice, for example. It's not a lot of food. But if you have chicken and rice and a huge bowl of salad or some type of vegetable, like a lot of zucchini, a lot of broccoli, it's going to feel like you're eating a lot more food. But since it's vegetables, it's low in calories, so it's not going to send you over your calorie deficit. Honestly, that's like a change that I made even with my snacks too, because I used to love protein bars. I was eating protein bars like every day. I was eating Barabels. They're my favorite. They're so good. Literally is like a candy bar. But then I noticed, I'm like, okay, yes, this is high in like protein, but it really doesn't satiate me very much because it's not a lot of food. So now instead, I think to myself, how can I have more food with less calories? So now for a snack, I'll have like a big bowl of like lower calorie popcorn, for example. And then also we'll have some protein with my snack as well, like a hard-boiled egg or something like that. Also, I do not believe in restriction at all. For me, restricting myself does not work. So if I want something, I will let myself have it. I will just ask myself, how can I make a better choice? How can I make a 1% better decision, essentially? So the other day, my brother was going to get Chick-fil-A and asked if we wanted any. And immediately when he said Chick-fil-A, I was like, ooh, that sounds so good. I would love Chick-fil-A. And instead of telling myself, no, you can't have it, I was just like, I'm just going to find like a better option at Chick-fil-A. So I asked ChatGPT, what is a macro-friendly meal that I can get at Chick-fil-A, which by the way, it's the kale salad with the grilled chicken nuggets and buffalo sauce. And it was delicious. I still was able to enjoy that food and eat with my family, but I just made a better decision and I felt great after. I didn't feel like sluggish. I didn't feel like lower energy. Like it actually like satiated me. It felt great. And it still like hit that craving of eating Chick-fil-A. So it's just about making these healthier swaps. Like if you want something, if you know that every single day you crave sweets, you crave something, instead of like forcing yourself to no longer crave that thing, like you're going to use a lot more energy trying to force yourself to no longer crave that thing. Instead, just set yourself up for that craving and figure out a way that you can satisfy that craving and that desire in a healthier way, in a way that supports your goals. So that way you're not just thinking about what your body is craving and what you want in that moment, but you're also thinking about your long-term goals. So for example, if you love a sweet treat at the end of the day, like me, and you typically reach for cookies or ice cream, just find a dessert that still fits your macros, that's healthy, that also satisfies you. So for me, that's my yogurt bowls. I love yogurt bowls. I'll just do a big old bowl of Greek yogurt, protein powder, fruit. It is delicious. Granola, honey, peanut butter, and there's so much like protein and carbs and fats in that meal that it's very, very satiating. It honestly makes me feel like I'm eating ice cream. Or if you don't want to have the healthier alternative for the thing that you're craving, because sometimes I do kind of feel like if you just always look for the healthier alternative without actually soothing the craving of what you really, really want, you're just going to end up eating more of that healthier alternative and you still won't be satisfied. So if you really, really, really want that cookie, still having that cookie, but finding a way to maybe dress it up a little bit more and find a way to make it like a healthier meal. I really recommend looking into Glucose Goddess because she talks a lot about blood sugar stability and how like your blood sugar directly impacts your cravings as well. So you never want to have carbs by themselves. So if you're craving a sweet, for example, if you're craving cookies, if you were to just eat a cookie on an empty stomach, it's gonna spike your blood sugar, and in 30 minutes, you're going to be hungry again. That's why, like, if you just eat, for example, a banana by itself, in 30 minutes, you're going to be hungry again because it's just having carbs without protein or fat to kind of dress it will spike your blood sugar, which then leads to more cravings. Even the order you eat your food in is important. Like, if you're eating vegetables, carbs, and protein, you want to eat the vegetables first, then the protein, and the carbs last, just because the vegetables and the protein, the way that it sits in your stomach first will avoid that blood sugar crash. So I highly recommend looking into Glucose Goddess, like diving into blood sugar and how it impacts your cravings, because that has honestly been a game changer as well. Also, I know that Abby Sharp talks about this a lot. Honestly, there are so many dietitians on Instagram. That's something that I do recommend consuming content of, rather than fitness influencers who are just talking about weight loss and just talking about like these extreme things. Instead, educate yourself, like actually educate yourself through dietitians, through researchers and nutritionists, fitness professionals that actually are certified and like bring like statistical information and research behind the things that they're saying. That has made a huge difference for me. I can leave some of my top creators down in the description box below. Literally, these are my favorite people to consume their content. I feel like I learned so much from them. There's one guy on Instagram, I think his name is Dr. Vasily. He shares a lot of really, really helpful health information. But I just think it is so good to consume and learn as much as you can, because then once you learn more about your cravings, blood sugar, why your body is essentially craving certain things and why your body feels a certain way, then you can kind of no longer shame yourself for craving things. Like, it's not that you don't have the willpower. It's not that there's something wrong with you for craving a cookie. It's because your blood sugar is high and you started your day with a lot of carbs, with a lot of sugar, and now your body's just reaching for that the rest of the day. So that is a trick as well, is to always start your day with a protein-rich breakfast. For a while, I was following this like 30-30-30. If you look it up on TikTok, it's essentially you have 30 grams of protein within 30 minutes of waking, and you also move your body for 30 minutes. And it's a really, really good way to stabilize your blood sugar and have like consistent energy throughout the day. When you focus on your blood sugar, you will notice a difference. Like, you will have a lot more energy, like sustained energy throughout the day, better focus, less cravings. That has really, really made a huge difference. And I think that is the biggest benefit of following a protein-rich diet, is that consuming a protein-rich diet allows you to keep your blood sugar regulated, which then leads to more stable cravings. And then you don't find yourself reaching for those things that are high in sugar as much. Okay, next, let's talk about movement. What movement should you be doing? So I think most importantly, when it comes to movement, you should always be doing the movement that you enjoy, the movement that you look forward to, because that is what's going to get you to continue going back. So like I mentioned earlier, when that personal trainer told me that I need to be out in the field doing sprints every day, I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I was like, that is not something that I enjoy or will ever enjoy. I am not a football player. I have never been a runner. Actually, there was a small period of time that I did actually enjoy running, and I do see myself maybe one day getting back into running. Don't hold me to it. But it's not something I'm completely opposed to. But doing sprints in a field, absolutely not. Like, that is not something I enjoy. So really, this process is about figuring out what your body actually enjoys, what you enjoy doing, and doing more of that. I do think it is really important, regardless what you do, to do strength training. And it's not even just my own thoughts and my own opinions. It's like actual science. Like, you need to be building muscle, especially the older we get. I think it's something like after the age of 30, you lose muscle mass every single year after the age of 30 if you don't intentionally build and grow and strengthen your muscle. And the more muscle mass that you lose throughout your life, the easier and more susceptible you are to things like osteoporosis or falling and breaking your hip, and even just falling more in general because your body isn't as strong. I feel like something that really shifted a lot for me was spraining my ankle back in 2021. And when I tell you, I was literally just walking. Like, I was just walking. I mean, it was a hike. It was a strenuous hike. It was at the end of a very strenuous, intense, terrifying hike. So like, I was just exhausted at that point. But I did sprain my ankle by literally just stepping my foot on a rock, and my foot went like that. And I sprained my ankle really, really bad. And I remember thinking to myself, like, all I did was step on a rock and I sprained my ankle. And that's when I started getting into yoga, because I'm like, I want to strengthen my joints. I want to strengthen my body so that me stepping on a rock doesn't lead to me spraining my ankle and breaking something. Like, I want to be strong. I want to be like nimble. I want to be able to move my body around. So I started getting into yoga, and that was really what kind of like slowly started getting me into like prioritizing like my health and my wellness and stuff. And I love yoga. I highly recommend doing yoga. So like I mentioned earlier about body recomposition, if you want to lose fat and still keep your muscle, you essentially want to do what's called progressive overload. And so if you don't know what that is, I highly recommend doing your own research on it and working with a coach or following some type of workout program where you're able to do progressive overload. Essentially what it means is that you are gradually increasing the stress that is placed on your muscle over time. And that can be done in multiple ways. It can be done by increasing the weight, increasing the time under pressure, doing more reps, increasing your sets, improving your form. Really, the whole purpose of progressive overload is that you are following a very specific regimen or like workout program that allows you to consistently improve over time. What you're essentially doing is you're continuing to challenge your body, which then stimulates muscle growth. So what I did is, like I said, I started working with my coach, and she had me on a very specific workout plan. I have an app that I do my workouts through, and it's really cool because on the app you could see the reps and the weight that you did the previous week. And so I always just make sure I'm increasing it in one way or another, whether that's literally just one extra rep or just a little bit more weight, just to make sure that I'm constantly improving and constantly like adding more to my muscles, unless I'm in my luteal phase. Then once I enter my luteal phase and close to period, like I really just am focused on maintaining. I'm not really focused on like increasing weight, increasing reps, just focusing on getting into the gym and maintaining. Also, what I've learned with movement too is that less is more, and you really don't need to be in the gym 5 to 6 times a week. I used to do that, and I noticed that it was harder for me to recover. I was more fatigued. I was exhausted. I couldn't put as much into my workouts because I just didn't have the energy to. So now what I do is I go to the gym 3 times a week, and then I just fill up the rest of my week with other forms of activity. So that's usually Pilates, yoga, hitting my steps every day. And for me, that really works because I don't want to just be a gym girl. I don't want to just live in the gym. If that's something that you really, really enjoy, you love lifting weights, and you want to be more of a gym girly, like more power to you. Just for me, I've noticed that I see better results in my body, and also I feel better overall. And also I'm just enjoying my life a lot more. Like I feel like it's more fun for me to go to workout classes. I love going to Pilates. I love going to yoga classes. I love trying like new classes on ClassPass, or just like going to different events, especially living here in West Palm. There are always events everywhere. Like I'm going to a yoga class next weekend at a hotel in Palm Beach, and I'm so excited for that. And there's just always all these different events. So I always leave space in my week to try out new forms of workouts. And with movement, you also want to be doing some form of cardio to increase your total daily energy expenditure. That's what's going to help you really see the results, because really the way to see fat loss is being in a calorie deficit, like I said, and you could either do that by lowering your calories or just increasing your activity. and increasing your total daily energy expenditure by going on more walks or adding in an additional workout. So my favorite form of cardio is walking. It's usually walking on the treadmill on an incline or just walking outside. I usually set a goal of like 10 to 15,000 steps a day. And I have a whole video talking all about hitting my step goal and like how much that has changed my life. So if you want to watch that video, you can click up here. Okay, now the last part of my weight loss journey was making lifestyle changes, which like I said, it really started with getting an Oura ring and being very aware of how different things, different habits affects me and my body and my energy levels. Because once you get an Oura ring, you really start to notice how so many things that you do affects your sleep, affects your stress, affects your activity, everything. Like drinking alcohol destroys your numbers. Having low sleep destroys your numbers. So I really started to make a lot of changes to my lifestyle, reducing alcohol, making sure that I was sleeping 78 hours a night, giving myself time to let my body relax and unwind. I also got my labs checked this year from Function Health. I can leave the link down below if you're interested in doing that. You can get an annual membership, I think for $500, and they test for everything. Like it is so in depth. It's been really helpful to have all of that data. And it also tells you what supplements you should take, what foods to eat more of, and what foods to avoid. So that's been really great. I actually just recently got all of my notes back and from the clinician, and now I've started taking more supplements. So now I take omega-3s, I take a multivitamin, I also take an iron supplement because my iron was low. I take magnesium too. And also I take creatine. I highly recommend taking creatine. I've actually just recently doubled my dose. I highly recommend doing like your research on creatine because you will be so fascinated to find out how much it helps your body. I started taking creatine, I think it's been about 2 months of being on it. And I have noticed such a difference. It helps your body to recover. It helps your cognitive function, especially if you take 10 grams a day. So I started for the first month-ish of just taking 5 grams a day. That is like the recommended dose. But if you want to also see cognitive function, it is recommended to take anywhere from 10 grams to 20 grams a day, because just taking 5 grams, it's going to go straight to your muscles. Like your muscles are going to absorb all of that. But research shows that if you take 10 grams to 20 grams, it also goes to your brain as well. Also, there was a study recently done. It was so fascinating about how creatine helped Alzheimer patients as well with their cognitive function. So that was really fascinating. I just recently listened to a podcast episode about that. I can leave it down below because it is so fascinating to me how powerful creatine is. Honestly, I want to get my parents on it because especially the older you get, like it is so important to be taking a supplement like creatine. So I can actually leave all of my supplements down below. I've never thought of doing that, but I can create an Amazon, because I have an Amazon storefront, so I can just create like a little page on my Amazon storefront with all of the supplements that I take, all of the wellness things that I take, and put that in there. I'll also leave a link down below to the Function Health, because I highly recommend doing that. Or if, you don't want to do it through Function Health, I recommend going to some type of doctor that will allow you to get your labs fully checked. Like not just, the 40 different things, whatever they do at the doctors, but Function Health, I think it checks for like 100 different biomarkers. So it was just really helpful to have all of that tested. I also earlier this year worked with, because my coach also works with a functional doctor. So I was able to get my hormones checked, and she put me on a hormone protocol because we found out that I was in stage 2 adrenal fatigue. So this video is already getting long. I can definitely talk about that in another video, how I healed my hormones and healed from adrenal fatigue, stage 2 adrenal fatigue. So if that's something you're interested, leave a comment down below. Let me know. Would love to chat about that. Yeah, I'm really passionate about health and wellness. So I definitely want to weave in more topics about this stuff on my channel. So if there's any questions that you have, anything that you're interested in learning about my journey or anything that I talked about in today's video in more depth, leave a comment down below. But basically, also to kind of share like where I'm at now, I'm kind of more in a phase of maintenance. Like I do still want to see like more progress in my body, but I'm really kind of just focused on maintaining my weight as well. So Like I said, I no longer track my macros. I just focus on hitting my protein goal and really making sure that all my meals are protein forward. And also what I'm practicing now more is intuitive eating. So I'm taking all of the tools that I learned from tracking and really just tuning in with my body and noticing how I feel when I eat certain things. And that has been really helpful transitioning out of tracking. And I'm still hitting the gym 3 times a week, like I said, and incorporating Pilates, yoga, steps, doing all the things. And definitely incorporating more yoga and recovery, because I definitely found myself burning out when I was just doing the gym and Pilates. So now doing gym, Pilates, and yoga has been super helpful. Okay, so to wrap it all up, here are the 5 things that really helped me the most and allowed me to see the most changes in my body. So step 1 was making those small changes, easing into a healthy lifestyle to not overwhelm myself and not make it seem restrictive or extreme in any way. And then phase 2 was committing to some type of challenge that required me to show up every single day for myself, which really allowed me to overcome the mental blocks that I had around going to the gym and moving my body and eating healthier. And then I entered phase 3, and this was when I was super intentional and very dialed in with my nutrition and with my movement, started tracking my food, started hitting the gym consistently on a program that allowed me to do progressive overload so that I could build my muscle, also increasing my steps to increase my total daily energy expenditure, and prioritizing sleep and stress management, which were things that I was able to track with my Oura Ring. But honestly, of all of these things, the biggest change that I made that contributed to my weight loss and to being where I am now was learning how to actually be consistent with my fitness goals and no longer be in that cycle of starting and stopping. So if that's something that you're interested in, I definitely recommend watching this video next. I talk all about how I finally was able to make fitness a habit after years of struggling with consistency. But that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye.